Inside the zip file attached to this lesson, you'll find a set of files that will be containing the new template we're going to use throughout the rest of this section. As you can see, the first page is empty and we have a menu at event with the form inside it. This is just a typical bootstrap form. There's nothing implemented with Angular yet. Let's have a look at the code instead. We have a view folder containing the add event HTML partial, or actually view in this case. In our app.js we have a single root which is views add event, and we are using the HTML5 mode. We have a controller which is just initializing a scope event array. Looking at the index.html, we have a container with a starter template div and an ng view that will actually render our add event. So what do we have to do first of all if we want to try and implement a form in AngularJS, if we want to deal with forms? As you might remember, when we want to define a scope for our input, so if we want to keep in sync whatever the user types inside our form, inside the single input with the Angular scope, we need to use the ngModel directive that will keep in sync the view with the scope. So I'll just change each one of these simple input text fields by adding an ngModel. So I'll show you the first one, like this, and will be event form dot name. I'm actually going to do the same for description, as well as for our date, as well as for our location, and so on. I'll come back to you guys when I'm finishing doing that. There's no need for you to follow me while I'm doing that, and I'll show you the result of that in a second. I just finished adding all the fields. Let's have a quick look at them. Again, eventForm.name, description for this input, eventForm.date, eventForm.location for the input for location, and then we used an ngModel for the eventForm category select, as well as for the email. So let's have a look at what happens now, but I want to show you another thing. Say that we want to debug what we're doing, so we might want to see the values that the user is typing being stored in our actual event form object. What you can do is just use this syntax. This is an ngbind, but if you use the pipe JSON after typing your model, it will be formatted in a JSON format. This is an actual filter that will basically replace the content of event form with this JSON version. So let's see what happens in our application if I do that. So as you can see at the minute, I can't see anything, but as soon as I type a value into any of the input fields, for example here I've typed trainee, you can see that the JSON is already available, and we can see that the name model contains the trainee value. Let's try to fill out all the other fields. So description, task, date is not yet a date field, but there's a reason behind that, because I will talk a little bit more about dates in Angular later on. Location 1, and this is interesting instead. Category. So in here we have different values, so we have a list of values where to pick from. What do you think that will happen if I select one of these values? Let's try. I click on category 1, and as you can see, there will be category, which is the name of our select, and the value will be 1. Why the value is 1? Let's have a look. As you can see from the code itself, our value for category 1 is the option value, which is normal, right? Because this is what we actually want to store. What happens if I change it now? You will see that the value is automatically updated, because again there is a two-way data binding. Every time we change the value in the category field, it will be automatically updated in its model. Let's fill in the email as well. Why do you think that nothing is happening, and why do you think that the email is not showing in our JSON? Well, this is very easy because our field is an actual email field, and as you might know already, there is a validation on emails. As long as I don't add the symbol, this field won't be validated, so it won't be stored in our ng model. And this is all out of the box. So let's try to add the @sign at webyourmind.com. As you can see, is now available, and this is our complete JSON. This is the basic setup of an Angular form. In the next lesson, I'll show you how to actually submit those values and store them.